So, Warwick is a medieval castle. It was built by William the Conqueror, in fact, in 1068 in the county of Warwickshire, in the West Midlands here in the UK. On the bend of the River Avon. Obviously it was rebuilt actually in stone in the 12th century, and you can see the stone that it's made of. It was refortified during the 100-Year War, and it's resulted in it becoming one of the most memorable castles in the country. And it's been home originally. It was home to the Grenville family. It was used during many a war, Oliver Cromwell, and we'll learn a little bit more about the Civil War later. But it was bought in 1978 by the Two Sword family, or the Two Sword Company. Sorry, I'm getting a bit battered with snow here. Wasn't expecting it to be like this, and it was then sold. The Two Sword Group was actually sold in 2007 to the Blackstone Group, which merged it with their Merlin Entertainment brand. So it now sits along the Two Swords Museums, Legoland, Alton Towers, Sea Life Centres, Thorpe Park and Chessington here in the UK, as well as the Legoland and the Merlin Two Swords in the US. And we'll learn a little bit more about the history of this castle probably later on. So here we are at the entrance to the Great Hall. We're going in, we're going to meet someone in here. I'll tell you a little bit about it when we get there. So this is the Great Hall, as you can see. Lots of great items, lots of antlers, weaponry. There's actually currently a talk going on. Absolutely amazing area. I remember coming here as a child. Just the best scale of it is absolutely beautiful. You see that window again. See down to the River Avon again. We're not actually going to go down there today because it's actually blocked off this time of the year due to the cold weather. We're going to save that for another day. With the annual passes, we'll be back. See all sorts of things. Some Italian garment casing. The Great Hall fireplace, coats of arms above that. Vast fireplace. And then here. This actually used to be a bit fuller with things in the middle rather than just being able to walk around. From what I remember as a youngster, you see some more wonderful coats of armour, and another fully armoured up horse. Just beautiful. So here we are at Guy Tower. We've got a historian. He's going to take us up, and we're going to have a look at some Disney history. It's not been shown on many vlogs. A lot of vlogs are obviously American to do with Disney, so we have actually got some Disney history in here. So we're going to go up and have a look.
Separated to two sides. You've got your main chamber here, and then two smaller ones either side. One would have been a latrine, a toilet. So you can see, Paul, how thick the stone is. As a result, heat wouldn't transfer through, and that's why the use of tapestries would have been important here at the time, particularly for Edward keeping him warm over the winter period. You would have had a rug on the floor, because we're on concrete, which originally would have been sandstone, and sandstone again is very cold, trust me. So a fire here would constantly have been lit to try and keep the room as warm as possible, candles, etc. But the first marking is literally through here, so you just watch your step. Okay. So we've got Disney there, and that's about 1642 or 43, because it's a bit difficult. You can see the drop there, which suggests it's 1643. You can see originally you'd have his first name, but there's a hole now in the actual sandstone, but that would have been marked Edward. You can see the Disney there, 1643. And this above may have been one of his servants, because can you see the date? It says May the 20th. So that could be one of his servants, or gives us an indication when this was actually done, which suggests it would be 1643, because Edge Hill was in October 1642. Now, there's a real possibility that Edward actually survived the civil wars. If he was a direct descendant of Walt, then clearly he would have, because we wouldn't have got Walt. But he may be like from a different branch of the family as well. And the other one, which is actually by the bay window here, is starting to fade, but I'm just trying to get this. Can you see?
I can, yeah.
Edward Disney. Now it's important, Paul, because above it you've got a William Stanley. Now Edward Disney may have been part of his household, because William Stanley was also caught at Edge Hill. Now this could be William Stanley, the Earl of Derby, and if such, Edward was part of his retinue. So this one's starting to fade, but if you shine on it a bit like I am, you can see it clearly. So, as I said at the base of Guy's Tower, they had a lot of time on their hands to do something like this. And the fact that we're high up within the tower, again tells you that Edward was quite an important chap, because if he wasn't, he would have been kept in the jail, which, I mean, this room's quite cold today, but the jail would have been a lot colder, a lot damper as well, because of it isn't the base of Caesar's Tower, but below it is the level of the River Avon, so you can see the issues there. Where this room, I know today looks very bare. You've got the armour of the costume knights that wander around when in the busy periods, but this room would have looked very different. It would be lovely to go back in time and actually see what the actual tapestries would have been like, the furniture, etc. Because it was some of the best. And in terms of how these markings were done, as I said, Edward and any of the royalist prisoners would have been disarmed, because there was a risk they could attack their jailers. So this was probably done by a stone that he's found, and he's probably sat literally here in this window and made the mark, including the one next door, which may have been a small chamber for prayer. We know one was a latrine. It may have been where you had a bed. I know it's a very small room, and this maybe have been like your sitting room, or there could have been a bed in here as well. Now, ultimately, when Edward was brought here, Robert Greville, the castle's owner, the second Banbrook, he was alive. He was Parliament's commander for Warwickshire and Stafford, but he was actually killed in 1643 at the Siege of Lichfield, and the castle was donated by his wife Catherine Russell to Parliament for the rest of the war, and Oliver Cromwell used it as a base for his Warwickshire regiment. So he would have, the garrison here would have kept an eye on the prisoners. The garrison commander was a a Major John Bridges, who would have been stationed in our gatehouse, which is just in the centre, the only way in and out during the Middle Ages and the Civil War period. And actually a year before, well, a bit before Edgehill, the castle was attacked for the very last time as well. So Warwick Castle had an important role in the Civil War, particularly in the Midlands, and there's the belief that the man who owned Warwick Castle, where Edward was held prisoner, he may have become the figure that Oliver Cromwell ultimately did. But as I said, a lot of people got excited about this because of the Disney name. It went straight away, particularly with Walt. And that's why it interests people like yourselves, people like bloggers, etc. And particularly when guests stay overnight in one of the towers. Part of that tour does often include bringing them into these rooms and showing the markings like this to show actually this castle held prisoners during its time. So that's Edward there with William Stanley, and you saw Disney's last name in the side room there. What I will do now though is show you some other markings. There's no more of Edward Disney, but it just gives you an idea about some of the other prisoners that were held here. Paul. So
thank you very much. That's great.
This room mainly is because of. Now you've seen the Edward Disney, and I mean it's good, but I would say that this is the best marking we actually have from the Civil War period in Warwick Castle. And what I'll actually do for you, Paul, is read it to you.
Okay.
So it is a William Sutherland, prisoner here taken at Worcester at ye defeat of King Charles II, King of Great Britain, France and Ireland, defender of ye faith, whom I praise God long to preserve. Anno basically means year 1651. Now, the Battle of Worcester that occurred on the 3rd of September 1651 and was the final battle in the English Civil Wars. Now, you're looking at 2 years before this date, Charles I was beheaded on charges of high treason. That was passed by 59 members of the judges who were selected to try the king signed his death warrant. And if you actually go onto the National Archives and type in the death warrant, the third signature is of Oliver Cromwell. Now, immediately after the death of Charles I, Parliament itself abolished the monarchy and the Commonwealth of England came into existence. However, Charles II was made aware, or the future Charles II was made aware of his father's death. He was in exile in Holland, and he agreed to all the demands that the Scots wanted, who at first were allies of Parliament, but they later split from them. He came to Scotland. He was officially crowned King of Scotland. Well, you can see Great Britain, France, even though England didn't recognise him. And he raised an army. Now, the Scots were at first defeated at Dunbar in 1650. Oliver Cromwell led a much smaller new model army against the Royalists, but the Royalists were defeated. And then Charles invaded England and was soundly defeated at Worcester. Famously, he hid in an oak tree after the battle, so he wouldn't be spotted by Parliament soldiers, and he fled to the continent. But men like William Sutherland weren't that fortunate, and they were taken prisoner and brought back here. Now, the fact, like with Edward, that you can see that William had so much time, is that, first of all, he's put it in a nice box for us. And if I shine on, Paul, you can see lines underneath. So he's making sure that when he's writing, the words are straight. So he's got a lot of time on his hands. It's very neat, and it's even a lot better than Disney's, because William tells us who he supported. Well, the king. He fought at Worcester, and the year he was captured. Now, Disney we know was captured at Edgehill, but it's a shame that Edward didn't do something like this, because we could have learned a lot more about him. But that was his decision what was done at the time. And interestingly, you've got a William Sutherland here you've seen, Paul, and just below this here, you've got another William Sutherland.
Yeah.
Now the chances are that's the same man. The only difference is, look how Williams is spelt there. William is William. The William here, Paul, has got 2 L's.
Yeah.
William. Now, it's possible that he might have spelt his name differently because Shakespeare was known for spelling his name in different ways. Or it could be a supporter of William Sutherland who was held in here at a later stage. Because if this is William Sutherland, the clan leader of Sutherland, we know in this year he was hung, drawn and quartered at Edinburgh Castle. So if it is this William, he was transported up north to Scotland and ultimately executed. The reason it could be is because it's in a box, very similar. Yes, the only difference is the spelling. But also, there's actually a small, like a knot here. Now, that's difficult. The only thing we can think of is that could be something called the sealed knot, which was introduced when the Commonwealth came into existence, where royalist supporters in this country would communicate to the king in exile with any information about new legislation, etc. And their aim ultimately was also to try and assassinate Oliver Cromwell. So that could be that this William Sutherland, the copy of it, is showing his support of the sealed knot. Now the sealed knot was probably not in existence in this year, which means that it might not be the same person, but that was when it was officially recognised. This secret organisation could have been in existence before that. That's the one thing with graffiti like this, is it only tells us so much.
Yeah.
A lot of the time then it is based on very hard research, looking into where this person came from, the reasons why he may have supported Parliament or the King. But as I said, this is probably the best marking we have. It's actually my favourite, although I like Edward Disney's markings. This is probably my favourite because it gives a lot more information, and it just again hits home that prisoners were held in this very castle in the Civil War. And the reason we keep these rooms closed is to protect them. If these were open, they would have to have a perspex screen over them because people could just rub away, and that's why we're lucky they're still in such good condition, and why we like to show guests like yourselves who are doing work for blogs, just to get up close so their viewers can see what they might not usually be able to see if they came here as any time when they visit. So
that's great. Thank you.
So do you want to take some photos?
Yeah.
Of this one? With more again an idea of the stone from the age, and particularly these steps, because it's been walked on so much over its time, it's cratered. So the best marking in here, Paul, is in this chamber. Now it's one that we don't touch because the sandstone will fade, but this is a Hail Mary prayer from 1395. So that was the year the castle was completed. And as silly as it may seem, this is a prayer that was probably to bless the castle, or particularly bless this tower, to ward off any evil spirits. Because Mary was the patron saint of Warwick, if memory serves, and it is in Latin itself. So this may actually have been done by a priest, or it may have been done by the family. We're unsure. There's a possibility it was done by a priest, because this may have been the chamber that he prayed in. Who knows? I mean, that might be where he put some of his religious his religious objects. But that is one of the oldest markings we have at the castle, and it's why we keep this room locked again. And I'll just show you here, because the sandstone crumbles away. We've got to be careful. We do not want that to disappear at all. But that's again another special one we have. So if you want to take a photo, by all means you can take that. From that time itself when these were built, because I always say to our guests, these masons were talented individuals to produce a tower like this with the tools they had at their disposal. Because you think today cranes operated by one man, back then it was men running in wheels, raising and lowering the arm. And if you look, all the sandstone here, the mortar, it would have been, it contained horse's hair, because that would have helped strengthen it. But just imagine how heavy one of these individual blocks was and the time it would have taken. Because again, they did it all by hand, measuring out the length of the stone and making sure that it fitted nicely with the corresponding stone above, below and to the sides. So these men were skillful.
Yeah. Really, you just can't understand the struggle they must have gone through to be able to build something like this.
And how long it would have taken them as well, taken a long time.
You just have to look at how long it takes for any repairs to be done on them, even now.
Exactly, yes. I mean, Top Guy's Tower had to be restored this last year, and the scaffold was up the tower, and they had to source a piece of sandstone to fix the crack. It just shows to our guests that Merlin, I mean, this year, over the next couple of years, they're investing £3 million in restoration, because they understand the care that's required when you own a castle like this. There's a lot of responsibility, particularly with the upkeep costs, and that's why, like the scaffolding on where the Great Hall is being done as well, the sandstone there. So it's good to see these rooms, because this room is almost how it would have really have been during that time. Small fireplace there, and again because again it was the fuel, because some fuel only lasts for about an hour, even before glass. That was like gap, so you had to fill it with wooden plank, because that glass, Paul, an early glass, it's not like what we have today. It's a high lead content, so that's why it's sometimes difficult to see out of them, because these windows are like the bottom of a bottle glass, sometimes difficult to see. But glass has been around for a long time, but this is high in lead content. Eventually the lead is reduced, because I mean you can see all the lead here. We still have, of course, lead in windows today, but we don't try and have as much, because then seeing out of it is difficult. Well, you can see for yourself, I mean, if you try. It's okay, but it's not the sharpest as it potentially could be. But of course you get gorgeous views of the ditch below where the latrine would have emptied. So yes, Paul, so that top room would be one of the oldest marbles we have.
That's fantastic. Thank you for all your help. So here we are, we're in the royal wedding party, the order of royal party, I think. So we're going to have a wander around and we'll show you some of the things.
Mind yourself.
So we have some more waxworks. Everybody laugh at the name. This lady has surname. This was actually the mother of Winston Churchill. So, she's Lady Randolph Churchill.
Yeah, that's it.
This is somewhere that we'll be taking another time. Lady Cavendish, Duke of Devonshire, actually own a house very near to where we live called Chatsworth. We'll take you there at some point. So that's interesting. There we have Raven again. So I'm just taking pictures now, but it's up there. Which was interesting. He became king.
I'm not him. I'm taking a picture of him.
Go on then. Move your hand, buddy. Your hand's in the way. Your hand's over the camera. There you go. We've got our own little photographer.
Amazing.
Taking his pictures. That is George V.
I said it was good.
That's where we've just come through.
Daddy,
Yes,
what
buddy.
I'm gonna do?
You're going to take a picture of that one as well. My little photographer.
So pleased.
Mummy's right up ahead of us. Another bit. Gonna have to do 2 videos. Guys work on this stand. It's amazing.
He set off in
Come and have a look in
1914 to join the
here.
action in the Great War. He became a major of the 4th Canadian Cavalry Regiment and saw active
Winston
service between
Churchill himself.
1915 and 1916. He sustained injuries during the Battle of the Somme. His time as a soldier came to an end, and he returned to his role as a war correspondent heading to Russia in 1917 to witness the revolution and the rise of communism. Lord Brooke was a man that wanted adventure and believed war was a glorious thing. But this came to an end in 1928 when he passed away after years of physical and psychological suffering.
So, and there, I nearly missed it. Here's the Warwick Bear, hidden in the back. Here's the emblem of the county of Warwickshire. As you see here. Lovely painting of Warwick Castle there. So the bear actually used to stand here. I've now replaced by a machine to tell them what you think of it.
He set off in 1914 to join the action in the Great War. He became a major of the 4th Canadian Cavalry Regiment
I got
and saw
you.
active service between
Here's your message, Daddy.
Okay, buddy, you're not taking photos anymore.
injuries during
No, I'm making messages.
Okay.
his time as a soldier.
What about typing your name?
And he returned to his role as a war correspondent heading to Russia in 1917 to witness the revolution.
Come on. We've got to go upstairs now, buddy.
Abigail, you can trip over the stair.
I'll go upstairs. Come on.
We gotta go upstairs because I took a picture. I took a picture of this, Daddy.
Okay.
I took a picture of it. Is that the temple of?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether that's
No, that's the temple of. See, that's the temple of. Yeah, it's the ramp. You have to go. Come on.
not 100% certain.
Yeah, yeah.
Careful.
In this one, buddy.
One step.
Someone having a bath, buddy. Look.
She's having a bath. Bath.
A bath.
Bath.
A bath.
Son.
Sam. Wait for us. Yeah. When we come then.
Daddy.
Yes, buddy.
You see all on your mouth. Oh. Oh.
This castle. Not that long ago, not 100 years ago. There's another boat.
The Earl and Countess were not in residence at the time, when two of their children, Lady Eva and the Honourable Sydney, had to be rescued from the nursery by the house steward. The damage to the castle interiors was extensive, and a huge amount of money was required to restore the castle
We can go this way.
We can go this way. Didn't that used to be the nursery?
Yeah, you used to be able to see that.
That's a fire hose, buddy. Don't touch it.
Why?
Because it's a fire hose.
It's not a real fire.
It is a real fire hose. Times 1898. Lots of beautiful paintings of Warwick Castle.
Daddy, you want to come and see something?
Should we have a look out the window?
There's a waterfall.
Yeah, there is.
We like waterfalls, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm going to take a picture of the waterfall. I took a picture of the waterfall.
Did you, buddy?
Mommy, I
Should we
took
have a
a
look?
picture of a real
Should we have a look on
waterfall.
Daddy's video? Do you want to show? Oh, do
Ow.
you want to show me the picture? Yeah, let's have a look on the video. Press on the photo. The waterfall's above, isn't it? Come on then, buddy. This way.
Let's go up the stairs.
And now we can see down stairs where we just were.
Oh, take a picture.
Here he is. Come on, buddy. This way. No.
I'm not
Come.
drop it.
Come this way.
Oh,
Come this way.
I'm
You
going
get
to take a picture.
You'll get a better picture from this way.
Just here, buddy.
Look, Mummy's got one down here.
Princess Diana in 1986 and Prince Charles in 2014.
We're
Her.
cheating.
Edward, Prince of Wales. Warwick, King Edward. Sadly, that's not Rocket Raccoon.
One more. We're in the King's bedroom now. King's bedroom. It's very grand.
Yeah, that's the king, buddy. This is the king here.
King, but
Yeah.
why doesn't he have a crown on?
Because at the time he wasn't, he was only a prince. But he became the king.
This room, the Kenilworth bedroom, was named after
Princess
Kenilworth
King,
Castle.
Queen. Cool.
Was originally finished.
Reception.
Lots of paintings, isn't there, buddy? This is where we visited earlier. We went to look at the carvings. Is there a glass tower there? No. There's the family that owned the house, the castle.
Goodbye, just got a picture of.
Fantastic. Stop with it all like a please.
Yeah, I know. This way. Come on.
Calm down.
Me, Daddy.
Yes, Sam.
We're at home.
Look at the windows, baby.
I just took a picture of it. See? I just took a picture. Let's go this way. This way.
I think it's...
Come on. Sorry.
Slow down, Sammy.
More steps?
Yeah.
Cooler.
You okay?
This is cooler, Daddy.
Is it?
Cool.
There you go. There's the seal of approval from the youngster.
Shall
It's
I hold
cool.
the tablet? I prefer you held on.
Wow. Really hard. That means we have to walk down to the first
Your
level.
tablet, go that side and hold on, please. Come on. Good job. Watch where you're going.
This is amazing, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
amazing when you watch where you're going. Go steady.
He's fine.
Go on. Yeah. Go to the loo.
We're nearly at the bottom.
Good.
No, it's fine. Just keep going. Don't go backwards. Please, just think behind.
So on that note, from a snowy Warwick, thank you for watching. We've had a great time here at Warwick Castle today. As I said, we are annual pass holders now, so we will be back. I want to say thank you to Matthew for showing me around the Civil War inscriptions on the wall, the graffiti, certainly the Disney ones, and it was great to see the other ones, like the oldest one you could find here. So thank you for watching these videos. It's been a great time, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.